Dublin's captain Stephen Cluxton establishes a new record here at Croke Park by playing in his 89th championship match. The other headline news for Dublin, Johnny Cooper named at wing half and Jack McCaffrey listed at half forward, with Bernard Brogan among the substitutes. Opposing them, a Monaghan team still looking to break through the modern quarter-final barrier. Their team numbers suggested no change. However, Desi Ward comes in for Dermot Malone, and there's a start as well for Jack McCarron. He replaces Darren Freeman. Referee Conor Lane from Cork takes charge. There's a full house on an evening which is quite showery here in Dublin. The champions absolutely unbackable favourites, and straight away trying to get into their early rhythm here, playing down towards the goal at Hill 16. A Dublin team that conceded a goal and 17 against Kildare, but managed to score 2 goals and 23. And immediately it's Paul Mannion. First possession here, looking for the opening score. Makes it look very, very easy indeed. It's only taken 30 seconds. Well, the perfect start for Dublin here. Big high ball onto the 20-metre line, which is rapidly fisted away. Conor McManus hitting, and Conor McManus putting that one over the bar. It wasn't adequately dealt with by the Dublin defence. Andrews having to fetch, stop it from going out of play there. Fintan Kelly, his marker. Lovely turn. Andrews, 3 against him. Back to Rock. Well, some of those Monaghan defenders are getting quite a run around at this stage. Just about staying in the game, however. That is beautifully guided in, and it is Jack McCaffrey, first of the day for him. Man who was named Footballer of the Year and Young Footballer of the Year when he was only 22. No pressure on the ball carrier. Beautiful ball down, and a good stop. And Paddy Andrews had the chance to plant it in the net and failed to do so. Well, just watch this once again here. It was O'Callaghan driving it in there. Goalkeeper got down low and hard and strong and kept it out. And the nudge in the back, and it's spotted by the referee even as McManus is kicking it away. Johnny Cooper feeling the effects of the challenge. Well, was a little bit over robust from the point of view of the Clontibrett player. Well, Cooper certainly came off second best there. And the end result is going to be a card for McManus. He'll be hoping it's just yellow, and it is. That's a yellow card per team now. Plenty of work just ahead of him here by the forwards. Owen Duffy has come in for the second half. That's Darren Hughes. McCarthy has a go again. It worked the first time and it's working the second. And it really does beg the question why he wasn't in from the very beginning. Free to Dublin, 5 minutes into the second half. Brian Fenton to take. Out came Walsh, missed it. Paddy Andrews has a support player, and it's in the back of the net. And 2 games in a row, Dean Rock scores a goal. And he's now got a goal and 6 in this match. Dublin cement their position as leaders here and red-hot favourites to qualify for the semi-final. Lovely approach play, Andrews to Rock, and now it's 113 to 5 points. They go again here with Desi Moan. There has been part and parcel of Monaghan teams for a long time now. 47th match in the championship for him. McCarron, one of the newer comers. Still McCarron, fisting it down into space here. And it's held on to well by McCarthy, and he takes the challenge there. And it was Brian Fenton eventually who made contact with him. McCarthy went down. And they've worked the free kick quickly inside towards McCarron. It's McCarron, the stop by the goalkeeper on the night. when he plays more championship matches than anybody else. Stephen Cluxton comes up trumps, and McCarron is denied. And at the other end, there's an opportunity to punish the lapse pass, and Paddy Andrews is able to avail of it and knock it over the bar. This was McCarron, and that was Cluxton at his very best. Good positioning, it was a good height, but he really saved it well. Booted ahead into a deep position here to O'Gara, looking for another goal. They've settled for a point. They get one as well. Owen O'Gara. Much better second half by Monaghan, it has to be said. They've got 7 points during the 33 minutes played so far. Mannion going forward again here, looking for options. Not needing them. Not with that kind of confidence. Maybe a little bit of deception there in his part to look to the left to see who was up in support. Dublin just holding the ball, waiting for the referee's final whistle. He has played the 4 minutes of stoppage time. It's a 10-point victory for Dublin. They reached the semi-finals as expected. They were always in charge of this match. There was never any real doubt after they made a bright start to the game. It's Dublin. They beat Monaghan here by 1 goal and 19 points to Monaghan's 12 points.
I just think we snapped at a couple of shots. The good news is that we created them against a defensive system like Monaghan's. Just need to be a bit more clinical over our shooting. But overall, I thought it was a good collective performance, and good to see some of our more experienced players come back as well.
When the game's over now and it was an easy victory for Dublin, it's as if we came down here, but we honestly did feel that if we got to the pitch of the game early and set up right, that we had a real good chance, and that's just the most disappointing thing about it.
All right, we're going to analyse the Dublin performance in great detail later on. What we're actually doing is we're going to be looking at Dublin and Tyrone, because of course that's going to be the clash of the Titans in the semi-final, and we're going to look at that in detail later on. But let's get a brief word on this first before we look at the other match and then do our analysis. Were Dublin, is it disrespectful to Monaghan to ask you, were Dublin tested much by Monaghan?
No, Des, I don't think they were tested at all yesterday. You know, when you look at it, and I suppose you could say the same for Tyrone, you could say the same for Kerry. We are nearly in the month of, they'll be in the month of September before they're tested properly. You know, and it just goes to show the quality. The three teams they have an average, they're beating teams by an average of 9 points, so they haven't been tested. Dublin, their pace, their support play, they were defensively sound again yesterday. Monaghan were poor, it was a poor game to look at. Possibly the way Dublin set up, they were possibly looking forward to one eye on Tyrone and how they're going to approach that game. But I don't think it is like, here you have a Dublin team who are going for 3 in a row, and they'll hit the month of September without even being tested. Same with Kerry, same with Tyrone. There is a gap. I think this weekend has shown that there is a gap between the top teams, top 3 teams, and the rest of the country. It
begs a question, Brian, if we will have the Super 8s next year when they'll be playing off in groups against each other.
Well, let's put a question mark over the Super 8s, because, you know, there is that gap between the top 3, Tyrone, Kerry and Dublin. Now, we have had a lot of good games in the Championship this year, but it's between teams that are weaker than the 3 big teams. So it'll be interesting to see next year how that develops.
And what about Monaghan?
Monaghan, look, it's another failure in Croke Park in the quarter-final stage, and the big question marks will be over the Monaghan team. I think they're young enough to come back from this, but again, will Malachy O'Rourke be with them? Malachy O'Rourke's been a success anywhere he's been. 3 counties, he's got county titles with club teams, but where do they go from here? I was looking at the sub-bench yesterday, and Ryan Wiley, he was very animated whenever he came off, so was things not right? It remains to be seen.
They could be mad at themselves. But in fairness, the Monaghan quarter-final draws haven't been easy. They got Dublin a couple of times, I think Tyrone, Kerry, you know. They
have been unlucky, but if you look at Malachy O'Rourke's tenure with Monaghan, he's got 2 Ulster titles, and Monaghan having a massive pick, so they have overachieved.
Absolutely, yeah.
They were poor yesterday, though, Des. You know, they pumped in silly ball, there was wasting possession. Conor McCarthy was on the bench when he should have started. Wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
Yeah. Kieran, the internal competition, the Dublin squad is always interesting to watch, isn't it? I mean, the bench is so strong, lads.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the significant things yesterday, Des, was when Jim emptied the bench, he emptied it with experience. And I think when you get to the latter stage of the championship, you know, they brought through a lot of young lads, you know, the likes of Conor Callan this year, you know, likes of Eric Lowndes, young Scully. But when you do come to the business end of the championship and you come up against the Tyrones or you come up against the Kerrys, it is a step up in intensity. So Jim was, you know, I'd agree with Tomas, he'd one eye probably on the next game. I do feel a bit for Monaghan because, you know, when you look at Westmeath and how Kildare came to Croke Park and conceded early goals, like we all did expect Monaghan to come and play with a double sweeper, try keep it tight, try stay in the game. That's what they tried to do. They just didn't bring the intensity, and they were like a team that was trying to implement a new tactic that they weren't comfortable with, they didn't believe in, and Dublin just chipped away and went 9 points to 1 up. And I think like Dublin got a few soft frees, I think, in that first 20 minutes as well, that kind of gave them that cushion, but they just didn't have that inner belief. Croke Park hasn't been a good place for them over the last few years, and Dublin cruised through the game. The game was a bit of a snore fest, being honest, like it was over at half time.
All right, well, we're going to look at and analyse Dublin in detail in a few minutes. Next up, it's a clash of those old Ulster rivals, Tyrone and Armagh. Two sides of quite a history. We're going to look at Tyrone after this, but first, it's competition time. Down.
Well, I think over the last few years, Dublin have got used to playing northern teams now. The league record with Dublin is surprising. You know, they have 1 win each and they have 2 draws, so it is going to be really, really tight. I mean, Dublin here, this is one of the scores. We counted these, there was 29 passes in the end. The long ball isn't on. Dugan is back as a sweeper, and Dublin play with patience. You know, they work it around. What they do is they wait for gaps. They have attacking players, you know, Kieran Kilkenny, Callahan, Jack McCaffrey, McCarthy, Fenton, Cooper, Keane O'Sullivan, players that can punch holes. They try as well, this is something they were trying, they pass it out outside as if to invite Monaghan on, create space inside, and if they get a chance, they will go for it. But here, this clip was over 2 minutes long. They're equally, like, some teams get cut out. Now, Tyrone will be more aggressive. I think they will attack the player more often. Here, Kilkenny had an opportunity to go, but they work it from side to side maybe 3 or 4 times. I think Tyrone will be tougher, but here you see James McCarthy comes in at the very end. Keane O'Sullivan plays at him. I think the Tyrone or the Monaghan lads caught off guard, 2 of them breaks through over the bar.
And the funny thing about that is that teams don't want to play like that. That's what players hate playing like, because you know, and it becomes a frustration. If Dublin have to do that constantly and Tyrone have their structure set up, it becomes a frustration, and it does lead to mistakes. It's not the way that Tyrone Dublin team wants to play.
Yeah, Tyrone are way more organised than Monaghan are. Way more organised.
Absolutely.
And it's a skill. Even we talk about the sweeper. Colm Kavanagh knows when to come, and when he comes, he attacks. You know, other sweepers don't. He makes sure it counts.
But Tomas, yesterday I was in Croke Park, and when Armagh tended to try and go through the middle, and Tyrone had so many bodies there.
You got to be patient, because like, I think Dublin playing Monaghan there, their eyes were fully on Tyrone, and that's the way they're going to have to play.
Show us how they won't get sucked in the middle there, Brian. You were talking to me about that.
Yeah, well, we have spoke about how Dublin maybe targeted Monaghan to set them up for the Tyrone match. And whenever you're up on the Hogan stand yesterday, you could see down that they were hugging the sidelines, and Monaghan didn't know what to do, push out wide or protect the middle like Tyrone do. And there was gaps in front of Dean Rock and Paddy Andrews, which shouldn't be happening in today's game. Now that this second one was a goal chance for Dublin, and that time after time, Kilkenny, Mannion and Lowndes were hugging the sideline. The ball was even going in front of them, and they were still hugging it. There's a chance for Callahan, and it would have been a great goal. But
so it's sucking defenders out from that central area.
It's taking them out of it. And now, what will Tyrone do? Yesterday, you seen Duffy and Drew Wiley, when those boys were hugging the sideline, they didn't know whether to go out to them or protect the middle. Now, if Tyrone will drift back in the middle, they'll forget about the boys in the sideline.
Yeah, all right. I think that the challenge is going to be Dublin forwards are going to have to kick long-range points. If you go back to the league game, I think Dublin kicked 10 points, and maybe one of the starting forwards got 1 point from play. Yeah. You know, and it was a hugely difficult night breaking down that system, and that's going to be the challenge. Dublin are going to have to. That
system does 8 times. Dublin got 4 points from play with that defensive Monaghan system in, and they were fouled 4 times. So 8 times they got scores facing that system. So
Tyrone won't concede.
They'll be replicating that in training. Like, they'll have bodies back, and they'll be.
What does Jim Gavin do? Does he go zonal? Does he go man for man?
Well, we were discussing it. Look, if you look at Tyrone, 2 of their key men. Now, I know you have the McCanns. I think Hart and Donnelly are the key men. You know, I think Jim Gavin will have to make a decision. Do you go man to man? I think Hart and Donnelly deserve men to be on him to try to negate their influence on the game. Or do you trust your middle eight? Donnelly 51 times yesterday handled ball. Now, he wasn't up front as often, but he's a key man for them as well. He makes them tick, really, basically. I think, Jim Gavin, do you actually trust your middle eight to tackle